Absolutely.
College is all fun and games until you realize you're about to graduate and your ultimate college experience has come to an end, and you have no idea where to go after that. Welcome to the party! As a former high school student, college was a hyped subject with many prospects that was better than high school education. Although the stress, expectations, and procrastination follow students like a puppy, things such as higher stakes and more responsibilities add to the price tag of being a college student. However, good and right education was not on the list. As a previous high school student and a current college student, I had my fair share of breakdowns over tests and homework and college applications. If only I knew that was just the beginning. High school takes a lot of effort based on what curriculum students take to keep up with the various workloads that teachers throw at them left and right. But it's not the teacher's fault. They were trying to ready us for what's to come, in their words, ready us for college-level learning and education, which might have been pointless. College-level education doesn't quite give us the right set of skills. It's just a continuation of high school with more tests. Imagine a student studying geology, learning about rocks, going on a hike and naming every single rock he sees. What is the purpose of that, you ask? Well, your guess is as good as mine. The very first reason is the most common reason college has been hyped is what we've been told all of our lives. If we attend college and get a degree, then we can find a great job in a great field with great salaries and we can live in prosperity. But after many sleepless nights and a flood of loans, it finally boils down to, if you study engineering, you can be an engineer. If you study biology or physics, you can be a scientist. If you're a pre-med or pre-law, then you can be a doctor or a lawyer. That is, if the student don't drop out before they graduate. As an industrialized world, America has the highest dropout rate. Why do so many students drop out, you may ask? Well, what is the point of drowning in loans and sleepless nights if these college students don't have an interest in what they're learning? Because if you don't like what you do, you won't do it well. Higher education equals better skills, and with better skills and performances, we'll get paid more than a person with lower education. But they forget to mention another option. More often than not, vocational learning is dismissed as if it's a disease and offers no real value, which is not true. In Europe, that's where the majority of kids go. Vocational learning takes learning to a farther step outside of the classroom and offers a hand-on learning. Imagine actually learning what you need for your future career. A study shows that students would actually rather work alongside adults and learn rather than being stuck in lecture halls. With high dropout rates and a high percentage of adults who can't find the right job because they simply don't have the right set of skills to work in the field that they were supposed to be trained for, but they do have a fancy, expensive receipt framed on the wall that employees look for. These colleges and employees should evaluate students of their knowledge and skills, and not if they can follow instruction and bubble in the right answers. Lastly, there is one more thing that could count as good education that students can't simply just learn in classroom or vocational school setting. Higher education is a necessary experience for students to be challenged by reading demanding works of literature and learn and appreciate things such as melody and harmony that they otherwise wouldn't have if they didn't attend college. They wouldn't have enjoyed life. It's like going to the store. You go in for one specific thing and come out with buying a couple of more things than you intended to buy in the first place. That's how it goes with college. Along the path of learning and figuring it all out, students will pick up a couple of life lessons along the way.
Hey, my name is John. If you couldn't tell, I'm Asian, and I'll be that boring voice in the background that explains things while random pictures pop up on the screen. So I'm going to get started now. First, the Texas Constitution states that schools should be public, free, and efficient. It also states that the legislator is responsible for providing the system of education. Most people understand that public schools and resources are paid for by taxes. So what's the problem? Well, Texas is one of the 7 states that does not collect the state-mandated income tax. Although an income tax is collected on a federal level, which does not make its way to Texas education, Texas also doesn't mandate a state property tax. So where does public education get its funding? Local property taxes. Unfortunately, there are vast differences in the taxable wealth per student from one area of the state to another. Taxable property wealth has little or no correlation to the prosperity or poverty of the resident students. Currently, Houston is facing recapture. Property value increase has triggered the Robin Hood feature of the funding system requiring Houston ISD to send money to other districts. They can choose to write a check or to have commercial property reassigned to poorer districts. Simply, the system doesn't function unless some form of redistribution occurs. Austin, Spring Branch, and many others have faced the same issue. Dallas, if present trends continue, is probably only a few short years away from facing the same issue. Many districts are about to lose additional state aid for tax reduction. In 2006, districts were given state aid in exchange for property tax reduction. At the time, there were assurances that aid would be ongoing. In more recent years, the funding plan has been changed to expire in 2017. Some districts lose a little, some would lose 40% or more of funding. So how can an issue of funding be solved for the sake of the future? A statewide property tax would solve the equity issues, or reduce the number of taxing districts from over 1,000 to a much smaller number with less wealth variation.
We don't need no is a double negative, so therefore Roger Waters is saying that we do need education. Unfortunately, the established curriculum has a few problems. First of all, many of the textbooks have a heavy influence of Judeo-Christian affiliates. In the McGraw-Hill School Education United States Government textbook, the text mentions Moses and claims that the biblical idea of a covenant, an ancient Jewish term meaning a special kind of agreement between people and God, influenced the formation of colonial governments and contributed to our colonial structure. Crap. This is an issue, not only because of issues regarding the United States First Amendment, but also disallows some of science's biggest breakthroughs. While the influence of religion directly affects the text of textbooks, Republican anti-democratic views in the book Pearson Education, American Government are also implied. Those will not allow true political freedom and may paint certain democratic characters of history as evil, despite many great things accomplished. While it is the Board of Education's duty to implement the Texas curriculum, C-Scope seems to be taking over the education world. C-Scope is a non-profit offshoot of the Texas Education Service Centers, which received $25 million in funding in 2011. According to the Texas Education Agency, C-Scope is a curriculum management system created by Texas Education Services Centers, with assistance from content experts. More than 800 public school districts, charter schools, and private school systems in Texas use this system. C-Scope isn't all that perfect either. In 2012, C-Scope included a new lesson plan that makes the Boston Tea Party an act of terrorism. C-Scope implies that the Tea Party, an act of terrorism, was portrayed as acted upon by drunk criminals that wanted to cause trouble for the occupying government. Anyone who was in public school in Texas as a child and or teenager will recognize the name McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill has made many books and one published in 2015 implying that the Civil War was fought over states' rights and failed to focus on the issue of slavery. If there are this many issues with the Texas education, why hasn't the board changed them to make them better?
The Texas Board of Education is comprised of 15 members. According to their official website, the board is responsible for setting curriculum standards, reviewing and adopting instructional materials, establishing graduation requirements, overseeing the permanent school fund, providing the final review of rules proposed by the State Board for Educator Certification, and reviewing the Commissioner's proposed award of new charter schools with authority to veto a recommended applicant. Setting curriculum standards, reviewing instruction materials, and establishing graduation requirements. One may think that someone with a background in education would be the majority of the board, but let's take a moment and understand who is in charge of what is being taught in schools. There are 15 members of the board, each of whom represent and overlook specific Texas districts. Of these 15 members, 4 of them actually have a strong background in education. Barbara Cargill, Tom Maynard, Patricia Hardy, and Sue Melton Malone. The other 11 members are an interesting group of strays that are mostly politicians, former business executives, hell, David Bradley has his Eagle badge, and a chiropractor. After all, what's the difference between a chiropractor and a school teacher? The governor appoints 3 key roles for the board: the chair, the leader of the board, the vice chair, the backup, and the secretary. Not really sure what the secretary does. The 4 most populated cities in Texas are as follows: Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and Austin. Naturally, one would hope that there are 3 important jobs in the board and 4 major cities that the 4 most qualified members of the board would be able to fall into these districts. But that is not the case. Cargill represents the Woodlands, population of about 110,000. Maynard represents Florence, a population under 1,200. Melton Malone represents Robinson, population of about 11,000. And Hardy represents Fort Worth, Texas's 5th most populated city. So there's hope. None of these qualified members are the chair, vice chair, or secretary. No need to worry, the chiropractor is not one of these 3. Donna Bohoric is the chair, a longtime politician and former campaign manager. Marty Rowley is the vice chair, another longtime politician with a background in business. And the secretary, again, still not quite sure what the secretary does exactly. Maybe the backup of the backup, or he's literally a secretary doing secretary work like from the show Mad Men, is Ruben Cortez, a longtime member of various education boards and trustees. How did these members of the board even get their jobs? Well, they're selected by a partisan election, meaning they are elected by the people of their district. However, the problem that this presents is that the focus seems to revolve around the political party as opposed to the credentials of the candidate. For example, in 2012, Ken Mercer ran against Rebecca Bell Matiro, and although Bell Matiro has a long-time history of educating at the collegiate level, Mercer would inevitably win with his strong political background and his degree in biology. In the same year, Donna Bohoric ran against Dr. Dakota Carter. Although Carter is a psychiatrist as well as an active contributor of the LGBT, Bohoric would inevitably win with a strong background as a political secretary. Tom Maynard would run against Judy Jennings, and although Jennings was a strong candidate with a background as a PTA member, Maynard would win with his many years as an educator as well as the executive director of the FFA, a program dedicated to administering scholarships. However, it is likely that Maynard did not win because of his background, but more so because of his political party. Much like Mercer and Bohoric and 10 out of 15 total members, they are all Republicans. If Texas continues to rank so low in education, perhaps its leaders in education need to be adjusted. Also, on the record, my apologies for offending all chiropractic enthusiasts. How do I turn this thing fucking off? Again, this thing's pissing me off.
No, click on the microphone.
Click on the what?
Try using spacebar.
Is a psychiatrist as well as fuck this shit. I quit.
C-scope is a non.
My bad. I've been holding that one in for a while. Send it to the bloopers.
This
That's for John.
John.